Hello everyone. Hello, it's Friday and it's 5:14 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, and we are starting the little chat. And the chat is about one of the very important topics, and it's about being hard on yourself. How many times, I can tell you how many times I meet the clients who might be successful, might be sabotaging their dreams. But what I notice is they're super hard on themselves. And some people say that they're not, right? No, I'm not. I'm trying to be kind to myself. And they're confused. Why, if I'm kind to myself, I don't get what I want, right? Because truly, in essence, everything you have right now, everything you have achieved, your health right now, your body, your relationships, is all down to the way you talk to yourself. So if you have achieved something, it means that you have pushed yourself there, right? Whether you paid a high price for that or not, doesn't matter. It's down to the way you talk to yourself. And so many people do want the healing, but they don't want to change the inner dialogue. They do want to feel better. They do want to release any, let's just say, perfectionism or people pleasing. They do want to feel less anxious, less depressed, but they are not willing to put down the work to talk to themselves in a more loving way. Nothing can come through harsh words to yourself. No healing, no breakthrough, no transformation can come when you are hard and mean to yourself, right? And so people get confused because sometimes they confuse discipline. Right? We have self-discipline, we have self-mastery. And so they confuse pushing yourself. They confuse self-discipline with being hard on yourself. These two are different. And I'll show you the difference. So if you are, for example, love working out, and each day or each week, if you exercise 2 or 3 times a week, you push yourself a little bit harder, to do 2-3 push-ups more. That's called self-discipline and growth. But if you are exercising 2-3 hours a day because you have a goal of being perfect, right? Or losing weight so that you will be loved, that's being hard on yourself. You know what I mean? So if you are pushing yourself a little bit, like, come on, Kate, you can do it, you can do a little bit better, right? Every time you do something, just a little bit, that's growth. However, if you are obsessed with something, with work, right, with over-exercising, with overachieving, that's being hard on yourself. So there is a difference. There is, and you'll see the difference in the way you feel in your body. So if your body is falling apart, if you feel anxious, depressed, you feel like you sabotage something, you feel like you have been very motivated and you went down to a super unmotivated person, you have been hard on yourself. Because the body at some point will tell you like, hey, I can't do this anymore. I need to stop, right? And the body will give you the symptoms if you don't listen to it, right? So that's what means being hard on yourself. Also, being hard on yourself means that you are expecting from yourself something that your body and mind is still not capable of. It doesn't mean that it won't be capable of. No, that's not true. It will be, right? You learn, you evolve, you grow, you heal. At some point you will. But if you expect from yourself something that someone have achieved in 20, 30 years, you're being hard on yourself. For example, somebody have worked towards a beautiful fit body, right? And they have been doing that for months or years, right? And you look at them and you feel, well, I want to have that, but I want to have that in 3 weeks. So I'm going to push myself. I'm going to push myself so hard. That's being hard on yourself. What other symptoms of being hard on, and why we become so hard on ourselves, right? One of the symptoms is when you are not happy with what you achieve, right? You do not recognize. So little wins, small improvements, you disregard them. You disregard them because, oh, that's nothing, right? I wanted something huge, something more significant, right, to happen in my life. And then maybe I'll praise myself. Then maybe I'll recognize that I'm good enough. But small improvements, small achievements, people don't notice. People who are hard on themselves, they don't notice small wins, small steps that they make. They all disregard it. And what happens when we disregard the little steps that we have each and every day? We don't have joy. That's the thing. We don't have joy. We do not, people who are hard on themselves, they cannot feel long-term, more longer periods of joy and happiness. Not because they're not capable of that, no. It's because they only jump from achievement to achievement. Right? And sometimes if they give up a lot of times or they feel disappointed, they haven't achieved, they just give up, right? So people who are depressed, right? These people are very hard on themselves. They have been hard on themselves for so many years that at some point they give up. So that's really important to understand, right? So as well, what means being hard on yourself? Being hard on yourself is when you lock onto one strategy in what you want. For example, right? You are working a job that you don't like already. You're not really happy. And you keep working because you believe you have to do it. So being hard on yourself is almost every time you tell yourself, well, I have to. Well, I have no choice. I have to just keep going. I just have to work harder, you know? You can do that with a little bit of a different intonation, right? So for example, if I get disappointed in something, for example, right? I have launched a project and, you know, didn't meet my expectations, which happens a lot, right? I tell myself, hey, Kate, just keep going because you love what you're doing. But sometimes clients come to me and they tell me, well, I just have to work harder. I just have to try hard. I just need to, you know, like to tell myself, get your shit back together, you know, like just keep going. That's being hard on yourself. You know, the body listens to your words. It doesn't listen that much to what you tell to other people. Most of the time, it listens to your inner thoughts. The dialogue that is happening inside your head is much more colorful, let's just say, than what you're saying to people. Your everyday conversations, you know, what you say, how you talk about yourself, how you talk, it's all nothing compared to what you say in your mind. And subconscious mind is very, very straightforward, right? It just takes every word in it and it doesn't know the humor. Remember, when you are telling yourself, I'm so stupid, I'm an idiot, you know, or oh, I never can get the things right. Your subconscious mind takes it as truth, not like a joke. Maybe you wanted to make a joke, or you are among your friends and you're saying, oh, I always mess up, or I'm always late. If you tell that to yourself, don't joke with yourself like that, right? Don't do that, right? Being hard on yourself is always the language that you use, and it usually comes from expectations that you have heard in childhood. Does that mean that you need to go back and dwell on your childhood trauma all the time, you know, being so resentful of the people who were hard on you or the people who had high expectations of you? I've seen so many clients being stuck They have gone to therapy, they have gone to like 6, 8, 20, 30 sessions, and they're still stuck in resentment towards their parents who have been hard on them. And that's why they adopted that strategy. And they are now, my clients are now like hard on themselves, right? The goal of a therapy, right? A goal of a therapy to teach you in any way possible that they find to talk to yourself kindly, to change the inner dialogue. Some people say, well, it's to change the behaviors. Behaviors come from your beliefs. Behaviors come from the way you talk to yourself, right? So you can change the behavior for sure, and it can have a great impact, but it's a longer process than changing that inner dialogue. And you can do together. Together, it's going to work even better, right? So don't get stuck in that resentment towards whoever was hard on you and you adopted that inner dialogue. Yes, usually the words that you say to yourself, usually the words that your caregivers told you. This is just a repeated, known, familiar pattern. But is the day happening all the time? No, the day changes into night and the night changes into day. Look at yourself 10 years ago and look at yourself now. You look different. There are different lines on your face, you know, you've changed the haircut. You probably have changed the style of clothes you wear. Things change, which means that the inner dialogue can also change. But people find it one of the most hardest things to do is to change the way they talk to themselves. They believe, here's an interesting belief. People who are hard on themselves, they believe that if they're gonna be compassionate to themselves, if they're gonna be kind to themselves, if they're gonna be loving to themselves, they're gonna lose the motivation. Well, because people look at their life, they look at everything they achieved, and they believe that they achieved it because they were very hard on themselves, because they were super motivated, right? And now if I stop doing that, well, then I'm not going to achieve what I want. That is so not true. Because you, technically, if you're hard on yourself, there is a little joy, even if the things that you have achieved. So do you want another 20 years of those achievements, not enjoying them? Because when you are hard on yourself, you do not allow yourself happiness. Remember the fifth regret of the dying people. Read the book, Bronnie Ware, 5 Regrets of the Dying People, right? The fifth one, and it's very universal to so many people. I wish I allowed myself to be happier. I wish I allowed myself to have more joy. I wish I allowed myself to think more positively. I wish I allowed myself to love myself, for example. So if this is the regret, right, then why do we keep doing, knowing what outcomes we're going to have? It's so interesting that we live, for example, you're 30 or 45, right, or 25. You, for example, are hard on yourself. You criticize yourself, you judge yourself, right? You put high expectations of yourself, believing that that's going to bring you where you want to be. However, as you grow up, you realize that that strategy only brings disappointment. That strategy only brings pain. So I'm very curious, knowing the outcome of that negative self-talk, ask yourself, how is it that knowing how much pain it brings me, I'm still doing that? And being honest with yourself is what brings the change, right? Be crystal honest with yourself when you answer that question. So I'm going to repeat it once again. Knowing that being hard on yourself and self-judgment brings so much pain and the lack of joy into your life, how is it that you keep doing that? And people say, well, it's so hard to change the wiring, you know? Isn't it hard to live in the patterns that you are in right now. It's a luxury, to allow yourself such a negative thinking. To allow yourself a negative self-talk is a luxury. Because can you imagine how strong your nervous system needs to be? To overcome all of that stress, of self-judgment. Can you imagine how much inner resources you need to execute each day to be in that negative self-talk? That's a luxury. That's a huge luxury. If you do that, you're like a rich, wealthy person, because you have the time for all of that negativity. So be crystal honest with yourself. Crystal honest with yourself. How is it that you're still doing it, knowing that it's going to bring you the same results that you have right now? Whether it's a lack of joy, maybe it's anxiety, right? Maybe it's depression, it's the fears, right? Maybe you just can't feel joy or happiness or inner peace, whatever it is, right? So that's really important to know, right? Why we are hard on ourselves, right? Why? Because this is a very important realization. Every time parents or caregivers, right, they parent their kids in whatever way it is, abusive, neglectful, loving, caring, doesn't matter, right? In this perspective, they believe that the strategy they are using is the strategy that they survived in, which means that this is a survival strategy. That means that it's going to be beneficial for a child because I survived being judged or criticized. I achieved so much, I worked hard. My child need to do the same. They will survive. So technically parents, right, as they survive the abuse, they very often, not all the time, no, there are a lot of moments when people don't repeat the patterns, right, from generations. But those who do, they believe that it's a survival strategy. So you are using a harsh inner dialogue because consciously you know everything. You're very smart. Consciously, you know what you need to be doing, but somehow you don't do, right? Unconsciously, and unconscious is much stronger than your logic. You can use your logic as much as you want. Your subconscious mind will win most of the time, 90% of the time. So as unconsciously you believe that being harsh on yourself is how you're gonna survive. That's the only available strategy, and your mind will lock onto that strategy. And you can look at all the videos and master classes and, this video, right? Saying, oh, I need to be more kinder. I need to be more kinder, right? However, tomorrow you might go on and repeat that harshness. I am the person, right, who has been hard on myself for so long. I'm learning this skill and I love it because it proves that all the different outcomes are coming from being kind to yourself. So I encourage you to question yourself. Is that true? That being hard on yourself is actually how you're going to achieve what you want? Is that true? That being kind and loving to yourself will bring you to no actions at all? Some people believe, well, if I'm going to be super nice, super kind to myself, I'm not going to do things, right? And that stops people. Because loving dialogue, right? Loving dialogue. What is actually love towards yourself? Do you know what it is? Anyone actually asked themselves what is? I don't see your comments, so I don't know, usually Facebook really glitches. But do you know what self-love is? Do you know what it is? So loving yourself and being kind to yourself is when you keep your promises to yourself. Not to others, that's later. Loving yourself means that you have fulfilled your promises to yourself. That's loving yourself. And it could be different for everyone. Some people promise themselves to be kinder to their kids, and you fulfilled that promise to yourself. Someone promised themselves, oh, I'm going to figure out what are my headaches, where are they coming from? I'm going to be really mindful, and I'm going to research, and I'm going to try different things to understand, why do I have headaches? Or why do I have anxiety? Why do I have depression? I promise myself, right, to work through this belief, for example. Or I promise myself, right, that I'm going to change my job, right, that I'm not happy at, for example. Or I promise myself that I'm going to lose some weight, for example, if you are struggling with excess weight and you fulfill that promise. That's self-love. But very, very often, people don't know this. People believe that self-love is like, oh, taking care of yourself, or like, I don't know, buying yourself stuff, whatever it is, right? Self-love is keeping the promises to yourself and fulfilling them. If you promised yourself that you're going to read 30 minutes a day, or you promised yourself that you're going to call your friend that you haven't seen for 10 years, that's self-love. Keeping your own promises to yourself. And being hard on yourself doesn't allow that. Unfortunately, being hard on yourself is not letting us. Just subconscious mind doesn't understand that, right? But subconscious mind is very straightforward. If I'm hard on myself, I don't deserve to do something for myself, right? I don't deserve. Or sometimes people take spirituality. So people have a strategy of being hard on themselves, having high expectation, perfectionism, right, as well. Perfectionists are the hardest on themselves. They have a super huge critic inside. So that's very interesting, because very often people go on this self-improvement, self-development journey, and they take it to extremes. They are still hard on themselves. I didn't do enough. I didn't achieve what that spiritual leader said. I am not enlightened, right? Like people take it to extremes. People take yoga to extremes, right? Because that being hard on themselves, that strategy still is there. So no matter what you start to be doing, either it's a new job, it's a new relationship, whether it's a new industry that you're stepping into, or new hobby, new niche. If you're hard on yourself, you're going to take it to extreme and you're going to burn out. That's it. No matter what. I know that because I remember that when I started that journey, I started to get interested. I started to read books like Joe Dispenza, right? 7 Habits, those first books that people read about themselves, like When the Body Says No, right? The Body Keeps the Score. All of these self-healing, self-realization books, right? I started to read them and I took it to extremes, right? I would read half of the day, even though I had other things that were important in my life, like my relationship, my kids, right? But I took it to extremes because I was still hard on myself. I still want to do it faster. I want to bring those realizations, those insight, that whatever enlightenment, right? I wanted to bring it faster on myself. Right? I had these clients who have gone so deep into the spiritual journey that now they have insomnia. They don't sleep because their mind is overwhelmed. Because that's all comes from being hard on yourself. That's it. Right? So what are you taking to extremes is where you're actually hard on yourself. Right? I'm not saying that obsession is bad. Right? I do have an obsession about subconscious mind, right? So yes, it's definitely taken over most of my hobbies. It's taken over most of my free time, right? I do recognize that that's like an obsession. But at the same time, I always am aware of those harsh words that I might start telling myself. Oh, I don't know enough, or I haven't done enough, or, I'm not at the place where I should be, right? Becoming aware of your inner dialogues, right? I mess up, what am I doing wrong? What is wrong with me? Why do I mess up? Why am I, like, all of these things, right? Why am I anxious, right? I'm broken, right? Look, I'm like, there are some faulty parts of me, right? All of that is being hard on yourself. Any self-criticism, any self-judgment, right? The healing cannot come through that filter. Imagine you have like glasses, right? And it's your filter. And if your filter is self-judgment, and very often people say, this is a very interesting as well, and insight. People say, well, I don't judge others, but I judge myself so much. I don't criticize others. Others are enough for me, but I'm so hard on myself and I don't feel good enough. And I say, subconscious mind doesn't work like that. That's your logic, right? That's your logic trying to tell you that you're not judgmental. Because that's an ego, right? Ego doesn't want to admit that we are judgmental. No, it doesn't want to. It wants to protect you. So as you look at the people you don't know, it's true. You might not be judgmental, but you judge, and you judge a lot. And usually you judge people who are the closest to you. You might judge your kids, oh my God, they're not exercising enough, or they're not, doing good enough in school, right? You might have these, sneaky comments to them, or it could be your partner. They're not loving you enough, or they're not respecting you enough. You might be criticizing government, cultures, city streets, if for example, like the snow wasn't removed. I'm in Calgary, right? So I hear that all the time, right? If I'm, for example, I'm going to the grocery store and I could hear people complaining, oh, these streets, they don't clean it the way they used to be. Like all of these complaints, that's also judgments. So when people say, well, I don't judge others, but I'm so hard on myself, you are hard on others as well. Subconscious mind doesn't work one way. If you're judging yourself, you're judging others. If you're judging others, you're judging yourself. Right? If you're criticizing yourself, you're criticizing others. It might not be people, but it still will be things around you. It could be, someone's body or you can even judge someone else's beliefs. You can judge someone else's choices. That's also, because subconscious mind doesn't work one way, right? So if you're hard on yourself, you will be hard on others. It might not be verbally, you might not even show that, but it will be in your mind. Right? So that's how to be kinder and softer to yourself, is with one simple insight. What you did before doesn't work. So why not change the strategy so you can receive different results? Why not test it? Like with curiosity, right? Because people usually start to, okay, I'm going to be kinder to myself. They start a new kind of a journey, or they start a new strategy. It's like, okay, I'm going to be kinder. I'm going to be more loving towards myself. And so 2-3 days, they don't see the difference. They're like, drop trying, right? They stop trying. They're like, give up, right? At least 66 days. You need to practice it, not with an expectation. So this is another thing. People, and it's good for people who put some New Year resolutions, right? Because we start with, like, I have like booked schedule with consultation calls, just like gym, right? People want change from the 1st of January, right? So when you want to change with high expectations, you will not get it. You'll get disappointed. However, if you want change with curiosity, with interest, you're going to have results. Even if you kind of like give up a little bit, sabotage it, then start again, with interest, with wonder, and with curiosity, you're going to have results. You're going to be very happy with them. If you are starting something with high expectations, being hard on yourself, it's going to lead to disappointment, more triggers, more sadness, more frustration, more anger, right? So that's really, really interesting to know. And please, being hard on yourself is what brought you the problems that you have right now. And people sometimes want to change. They, for example, come to me for a hypnotherapy session and they're telling me like, hey, like, I want to change this. I want to lose weight. I want to be more motivated. I want to I'm going to change my job. But I don't want to really go that deep. I don't want to go and uncover these beliefs that I'm not like, I just hypnotize me, right? So magic pill is always like a good temptation, right? How to be kinder to yourself. First of all, by recognizing that the things that you have been doing don't bring you the results that you want. Which means that if you keep the strategy of being hard on yourself, you're going to have the same results. But you don't want that. Being kind to yourself is forgiving yourself. And how is it like forgiving yourself, right? Is understanding that your mind could not do better. Oh my goodness, how often I hear one simple phrase: I wish I could have done better. Oh, I was eating junk food for so long when I was a teenager or whatever. Now I'm like struggling with this health issues. That's because I didn't do good choices. And so we are hard on yourself for our past actions. We don't see the change right now. We don't. Or if the change is happening, it's short-lived. And we find ourselves in burnout or exhaustion or just disappointment. So forgiving yourself is understanding that you couldn't have done better. At that moment, with that brain, with those neural pathways, with those beliefs, with that situation, you assessed the situation, you looked at what was happening around you, right? You knew what you knew at that time, and you made the decision at that time that was the only available option in your mind. And right now, as you accept those decisions, yes, I did it. And without being hard on yourself, you will be able to change it. Being hard on yourself will make you make the same decisions. But you're going to regret all the time. That's very important. Remember, you can lie to yourself as much as you want, but your reality, your body, can't lie. You can lie to yourself as much as you want, but your reality and your body won't lie. So I hope that makes sense. How to be kinder to yourself. Again, so working with the past, right? Recognizing that, like my past actions didn't bring me the results that I wanted, right? Another way how you can be kinder to yourself, right, is when you practice gratitude. People talk about gratitude, but gratitude is the highest level emotion and energy, It's the highest vibration, right, of the gratitude. And if we can, I forgot to practice it. I notice how much I forgot. Like I promised myself, for example, right? Like I'm going to do it, right? And some days I do, some weeks I do, some months I do, and then some I just drift back. And I see right away the amount of struggle that I have in life if I don't practice it. So gratitude will lead you eventually and naturally and organically towards self-compassion and self-forgiveness and being more kinder and softer to yourself. You wouldn't want to talk to someone like you talk to yourself. So why? Why are you the person who receives so much harshness and toughness, and meanness, right, into your life? Why? Why you are nice to someone else, but you're not nice to yourself? Why? Because while everyone is like, I can't be, right? I love other people, but I don't love myself. Again, subconscious mind doesn't work one way. If you say that you love others so much, but you don't love yourself, there is a lie in that. I don't know which one. What is the lie? I don't know. Maybe you're actually lying to yourself that you love others. Maybe you love others conditionally, right? Or maybe you love yourself conditionally. I don't know, but there is some lie in that because subconscious mind doesn't work one way. It works both ways. Allowing yourself some joy in life, right, will also decrease and smooth some of the hardness that you tell yourself, right? So taking some hobbies, that really helps. That really helps. Remember that you now do the only way you know until you know something else. The problem is not our childhood trauma. The problem is the conclusion that you make. The problem is not what happened to us, but what decisions you made about yourself. The problem is not in other people who have hurt you. The problem is that you had a lack of knowledge. At some point, at 8, at 9, at 5, 2 years ago, 2 days ago, or 2 hours ago, you had unfinished knowledge, like not enough knowledge, right? In something. And that's the problem usually. Map is not a territory, right? Remember, NLP presupposition. Presupposition is the map is not the territory. Your map is just a little piece of the whole world, right? And just because in your mind, you've made some beliefs, it doesn't mean that it's a reality. So it's good to work on your beliefs about yourself and why you're so hard, why your mind connected. Being hard on yourself is the only survival strategy. Or maybe your mind connected, if I'm hard on myself, I'm going to achieve goals. If I'm not hard on myself, I'm going to sabotage, I'm going to be lazy, right? Sometimes you have, sometimes you have the belief that if I'm hard on myself, right, it means I'm going to work hard. And I'm not going to work if I'm not going to be hard on myself. And so ask yourself, like, these beliefs, like, they need to be changed if you want what you want. And another one is really recognizing why you're still doing it. Why, if though you're an adult, you're still hard on yourself. It was understandable that you took that inner voice, right, from someone. But why, as an adult, you're still doing that? What is so comfortable and familiar in that inner voice? That's really important to uncover, right? Uncover, because when you are kind to yourself, when you are praising yourself for every little win, you're going to be more motivated to do things, more motivated, more inspired and excited to go towards something, because it's lightness. Remember, we all want that lightness, right? Every time, right? I ask people, like, what's the problem? And I had this heaviness, I'm so hard on myself. I have this heaviness. Everything is so forced. Everything is so hard to achieve. Why not change the inner dialogue? And you're still going to be motivated, but you're also going to feel that it's easier. It's lighter to live in life. With the lighter, more positive, more loving inner dialogue, it's absolutely much easier to go even through the hardest times of your life, right? So I hope that was absolutely, helpful for you to have some moment of motivation and some questions to yourself. I'll see you around on Monday at the next live that I'm going to do.